Hi, Sitecore. So, I think a lot of you probably know me. I'm Kamruz Jaman. Been doing Sitecore stuff for a little while. And I'm going to talk about rendering Chrome for Sitecore components. And the reason we needed this is everyone hopefully is using the Experience Editor or the page editor in the early versions. And as you start to work with the page editors, and you start to build up your pages, it starts to get a bit difficult to see what's on a page, how many placeholders you have, how many components you have, what those components are, and then also seeing the nesting and the hierarchy of those components and how those components are built, how that page is built up on those components. More recently on a project I was working on, we also needed to audit the components. It was a project which had been built up by a supplier initially, and there was lots of stuff, not good stuff always, but some okay stuff. And we were having trouble with figuring out what those components are, because you create a component and a developer will name it something, and then the content editors, it's not so friendly to them apparently. So we'll just go in and we'll change that stuff and just update the display name. And we go back and look at those and go, hang on, what's that component? Where does it look? Where is that referenced? And you got to jump in the top a few places before you actually figure out what that component is. And what usually ends up is you end up with a page and it looks kind of blank. And, it's very nice, but it looks kind of blank to a developer. And the only clue you've got is this little bar that pops up when you click on it. But again, you've got to kind of figure out where that actually sits in the code base. So there's actually been a few blog posts on this. Jason Wilkerson, I think, did one of the original ones. So he's one of the authors of the Professional Sitecore 8 book, which has just been released. I'd recommend it if you haven't got it already. A couple of other guys have also done some stuff on this, and they extended his work and did their own parts. A few guys have looked at BrainJot Score. I picked this up off their YouTube channel. They've also got something similar where they add some wrappers around your components and the placeholders. So I initially tried adding this into our solution, but we run into a problem. It's an existing project with existing markup, and our front-end guys have already dealt with the Experience Editor. As we all know, when you add your components in, the Experience Editor goes ahead and injects in a whole bunch of additional markup. So we've already dealt with that, and it's quite a lot of work to go back and have to deal with what these components are doing. And they were injecting into the rendering placeholder pipeline and the rendering pipelines. And what they were doing is injecting in some extra divs and some classes, which in turn would add these wrappers. So you end up with a component and it adds this stuff in, and then you've got another component on the page, it adds a bunch more stuff in, and then you've got a bunch of placeholders, and then it goes ahead and adds a bunch more stuff in. So on this existing project, it was a lot of stuff being added in on top of the Sitecore stuff, and it became quite tricky, and our front-end guys got very, very mad doing it. So I ended up actually knocking up a couple of examples just on CodePen. CSS, HTML only, and I was looking to do something that worked with our existing markup. And links are there, you can go ahead and look at those. And it's quite literally, we're using Foundation 5 in our project, some Foundation 5 markup in the HTML, and some CSS. And the idea was quite simple. I do this using some CSS and some HTML, and here's an alternative styling of that. slightly different, look and feel. So what we did, we used MVC, luckily at least. So ended up, went through various iterations of this, and we ended up extending the Sitecore helper, Sitecore HTML helper. And the idea was just to add some additional attributes to our markup, and then we'll style based on that. And as we went and did more work on this, we found out we could just actually add a little button, little checkbox in the ribbon as well to hide and show these renderings. So you still got that WYSIWYG look and feel, and you still got that other benefits as well. The helper is quite simple. There's not a lot to it. There's a couple of additional overload methods to this. The main bits to this are grabbing the display name of the rendering, and actually also then grabbing the rendering information. And I'll show you this in the demo in a few minutes. And then there was some CSS to style this up. It's not a lot to it again. It's just maybe some selectors that you wouldn't normally use. Notice there's a wildcard selector up there, which is probably looking at that screaming. And there's some attribute selectors as well. Again, they're probably screaming a bit more. They're not actually that bad. They're a bit heavy, but you can negate that by actually just removing CSS styles from your style sheet that aren't actually used in your website anymore, or split the CSS files up in small files and don't serve them up to the users. There's various blog posts and studies on this. And it's the experience editor only as well, so again, you can take a slight hit on this. So aside from the helper and this CSS, highlight those. So there's those data attributes. We're using some before attributes to inject in a couple of, to basically display what we want to display in this for these rendering wrappers. And we're using a content property in CSS. And what this is actually doing is it's just looking at the HTML attribute on the element you're on, and then just taking that bit of text and outputting it as the content of that block. Aside from that, there's a JavaScript file just to handle the checkbox for the speak ribbon. That just adds and removes a CSS style from the HTML file, from the HTML tag of the page, but it also injects in the CSS file into the header. So there's you don't need to go and do any messing around in your own Sitecore code if you don't want to. So how you use it, it's quite simply, there's HTML helper, like I said. Just go ahead and plonk that on whatever components you want it to show on. So unlike the other solutions which use pipelines, you get to control exactly what components you want to show this on or not. We don't use it on our header and footer, for example. We just want it in our main body and all the components that go in there. The only thing you need to do is add a reference in your web.config to the namespace. And there's also some overload. There's a couple of overloaded methods. So if you want to show something else apart from what's displayed in Sitecore, you can. Which is then also useful if you've got multiple containers or multiple things you want to highlight in a single view. Show you a quick demo. So here's a demo site that I used for Sitecore training a few months back. This was originally displayed on that. It was just very, very basic at the time. So most of the time your experience editor is just like so. By enabling the checkbox, which all it's doing is just adding one class to the HTML tag. It's now displaying all this additional information. And as you can see, you've got details of your view, the name of the view, the file that's being used to render that view, We've got a counter on there it's useful for things like sliders, tabs, controls. So when you've got a long page and it starts to knock them down, you can see how many you have on each page. For smaller components, on this page, the smaller components these are knocking down, you can't really see it here. It's just got a tooltip on there, it's just an HTML attribute. If you're using controllers, again, it's got the name of the item, but it's also got, notice it's got the controller that I'm using and the method of that controller there, and the action of that controller that it's calling as well. I went ahead and added this to Habitat. Default Habitat, just threw this same code base on there. Again, fairly clean. What we ended up doing is we needed to do a we needed to do a component audit, and we ended up in this situation here with this like this Habitat controller, where you have a control called call to action, and I'll click on that and it's call to action. But notice the file itself is the view is actually jumbotron.cshtml. And to find this file, I'm now going to I would have had to go from here into the content editor, find this rendering, find the view, and then go back and then edit that view. That's pretty much it, really. Very pretty straightforward code. It will be on my blog post. I haven't put anything up there yet, but the code is on GitHub. It's only for 8.1.1 at the moment, but 8.1. Update 1, sorry, yeah, and above, but I'll throw something up there for the earlier versions, 8 only, because nobody does 7 stuff anymore, I think. Contact me if you've got any questions, and we're also looking for people at ARM, so feel free to contact me on that as well. And I'll throw one other thing up there, showing you that screen at the beginning, you were probably you all had a nice little laugh about. Recent blog post last week, I think it was, or so. There was a reason for it, and that was about that we kept editing stuff on production when we're not supposed to, apparently. So there's a nice stylized login page, as well as the banner across the top of the environments, prod, dev, local, whatever. Go nuts. It's just CSS, so again, just like the other one. Go nuts, and hopefully you won't end up doing bad stuff. Sorry?
Not too much time.
Christmas. Yeah. That's it. Any questions? Good.